behavioral therapy, CBT. It is a psychosocial method that we learned this week to help people deal with unwanted thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. CBT is the most widely used evidence-based practice for improving mental health today. It is also a really great method to use on individuals who are very logical, rational, and tend to be very stuck in their heads. So how does it work? CBT, again, stands for Cognitive Behavioral Therapy, which means that our cognitions or our thoughts actually influence our behaviors and emotions. So it is based on the premise that what we think drives how we feel and how we act. The good news there is that if you don't like how you act, or there's particular behaviors that you keep having that aren't really serving you very well, you can change them by changing your thoughts. It sounds kind of crazy, but it actually does work. What happens is some of our thoughts have become so automatic that they become deeply ingrained into our subconscious, where they become what we call core beliefs. Core beliefs influence you on a daily basis. They actually dictate your behavior without you even realizing that that's what's dictating your behavior. You just think that this is the way that you behave because it always has been and you can't help it. But really, the reason you're behaving that way is because of this belief that you created a really long time ago and is so deep in your subconscious that you don't even realize that that's what's driving you. Core beliefs are usually formed in our earlier years, so something in our childhood will trigger us to believe a certain thing about ourselves or what's going on around us, and that gets stuck in our subconscious and ends up shaping our behavior as we grow into adulthood. So one of the most common core beliefs that most people do have is that I'm not good enough. And by I do mean you or whoever might have this thought. I do actually have that as a core belief. I'm working on it. This is something that can come up over and over again in many different arenas in your life. At work, at school, in relationship, sometimes just all by yourself. So I'm not saying that everybody all day, every day walks around thinking like, oh, I'm not good enough, I'm not good enough. It's something that might jump into our conscious every now and then, but really it just lives so deep in our subconscious that we act like this or we behave in particular ways that allows us to reinforce this belief without even knowing what we're doing. So in relationship, we could end up sabotaging it because we go in and then something may happen and perhaps we get into a fight because eventually that is going to happen. But because deep down inside we really believe that we're not good enough, whatever this fight is based upon, we take it way too personally and then we get all defensive and angry and then the other person gets defensive and angry and then we get locked in this fight where we're both not listening to one another and we're both just trying to defend ourselves because secretly we both just feel like we're not actually good enough. I'm sure that's never happened to any of you. That's a totally rare occurrence. But eventually this fight becomes so pervasive over and over and over again that eventually it does end the relationship, which reinforces the belief that, oh, well, I was never good enough in the first place. That's why I'm alone. I'm not good enough. But the good news is we can use CBT to correct those core beliefs. So you pick a behavior that you are noticing in your life that is not serving you very well. And then with a therapist, you would use talk therapy to dive into it and try to figure out what the core belief is that is underneath and driving that behavior. Once you've identified the core belief, then we can work to alter it so that when you come into a particular situation, you are responding based on what is actually happening and regulating your emotions and your behaviors around the situation as opposed to just reacting from a really automatic place. So the actual therapy process involves developing personal coping strategies to help change unhelpful thought patterns and then solve current problems. In theory, you can go through this process in just a couple of sessions. In practice, it can take many months, if not years, to really change our patterns. Most of our behavior patterns have become so deeply habitual and ingrained into us that it is not an easy process to retrain your brain. But it is possible, as I am learning. Rhodes uses CBT as its primary method in all of the classrooms. So even though I didn't actually learn the theory until this week, it turns out that my instructors have been using this on me and my classmates since I started school. They're like my ninjas here. That is all I have for you today for a little lesson with a touch of insight. If you want to learn more about CBT, leave a message below or you can contact me on Facebook. Also, if you would like to try out a session, you can contact the school and you can book a session with a second-year student, or you can contact me on Facebook and I will let you know. I will see you next week.